What's up, America? I'm Danny T. Welcome to the show. Well, Nancy Mace is pushing a resolution to ban foreigners from holding seats in Congress and even the judiciary branch. Uh, she wants the same rules as the president. You have to be a natural born citizen to hold a seat in office. I fully support this. This would eliminate several members currently serving from both sides, and it has sparked a little bit of a debate. Nonetheless, I've talked about this before. My parents came here back in the 70s from Europe. I was born here, but they were foreigners. Uh, I just don't think if you were born somewhere else, I don't think you should hold a seat in the United States branches of government. Um, I feel you still have alliances to the country you came from. No matter how patriotic you are, I just find it hard to believe that we let this go on. It's just crazy. And you see it with like Ilhan Omar, you see it with Mom Dami. I find it hard to believe that Americans are putting these people in these seats. People come over and they flock to what they know, and they try and turn the United States into what they ran away from. I've spoke about that before. It just doesn't work in my opinion. I fully support Mace on this. I don't always agree with her on everything, but this is something I can get behind. Um, you know, Fingers crossed that it works. I feel a lot of our problems uh slowly will fade away if we get rid of some of these foreign influencers out there. Um, Nonetheless, moving on from this, I talked last week about how Trump went to China talking to Jinping, trying to get him to get on board with what we're doing over in Iran. Um, I don't want to say unfortunately, but Jinping decided to opt out. He's going to stay on the sidelines with his buddy Putin. Uh, it sucks. I feel like it would have been good to have them on board to get this over with real fast, but at the same time, it's also good because I don't want to get involved with yet another foreign dictatorship that we gotta, appease to. Uh, it's got good and bad on both sides, I guess. I think we'll be able to handle this on our own, even without China. I think it's fine. According to Rubio, Saturday, Trump was holding a conference call with leaders from Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Pakistan, Egypt, Jordan. They're discussing a regional alliance and even a possible peace deal with Iran. But during this time, 21-year-old Nasir Best, he pulled out a revolver in front of Secret Service checkpoint outside the White House. He got one or two shots off before he was neutralized. He later died in the hospital. One bystander was injured in the crossfire. Um, but that's it. Other than Nasir here, there were no fatalities. This wasn't his first run-in with the Secret Service either. Back in June of 2025, there were reports that he was harassing Secret Service. And then later on, the next month, July of 2025, he was arrested for trying to gain access into the White House. He was placed in a mental facility. He had several posts online, just crazy rants. The man believed he was Jesus. He believed he was the real Osama bin Laden. It's just insane. I've talked before about how we need to up the mental facilities around here in the United States. It seems to be an outbreak of these crazies all over the place. Um, they're deemed mentally fit to be put in jail and stuff like that, but you know, we have no room in these facilities. When they do go to these mental facilities, it's pretty quick turnover rate. It's just insane how all this works. Something needs to be done. It's dangerous to let people like this out walking around the streets. You can't force them into these facilities. You can't keep them there. You can't put them in jail. It's crazy. I don't know, man. But this wasn't the only attempt. There's a man, Mohammed Al Saadi. Now this man, he has ties to uh, to Hezbollah. He has ties to the IRGC, um, but he was arrested in Turkey. We now have him here in the United States for about 20 cases of, him targeting Jews. Uh, Everything from stabbings to bombings, attempted bombings. While he was in custody, they ended up finding blueprints to Ivanka Trump's house. Um, he has social media posts stemming back from 2021 talking about, harming Trump and Trump's family. He's admitted to a plot to take out Ivanka. He wants to do it for revenge for Trump taking out Soleimani back in Iraq during his first term. It's just insane. I mean, this is how it works. This is, I talk about the Middle East and this conflict. I mean, these terrorist organizations linked to, I mean, if you want to call it a religion, it's all linked to Islam. I've said before, I have no problem with people practicing their religions, but when things get extreme, this is what happens. I think we need to cut the extremism out. It's just pretty crazy to me. Ivanka Trump is okay. Donald Trump's still okay. We talked about Trump. We're still hearing, this is like 4 or 5 attempts on his life, but as we talked about, it's been about 18 now throughout his life. It's just crazy. It's crazy how people support this regime, everything that's going on. It's crazy how we have so much political violence coming from one side, in my opinion. I mean, it's just wild to me. Nonetheless, moving off of this, little Hitler, oh, I'm sorry, Thomas Massie, he lost. He took the L as gracefully as expected, instead of taking accountability for himself, being voted out because people just don't agree with his policies and he doesn't seem to vote how we want him to vote. Um, he's just doing what he does. He's blaming the Jews. Um, Blaming Israel. I've said this before. If Ed Gallerin didn't spend a single dime on his campaign, I still believe he would have won in Kentucky. Kentucky's a very red state, and the party just doesn't seem to want you, Thomas Massie. It's pretty wild. Uh, I agree with Thomas Massie on APAC is bad, but I find it hard to agree with any outside influence coming in here. We shouldn't have any of these donations in any of our elections. I don't think any of these other countries like Israel, Islam, China, they really shouldn't have any influence on our media, our politicians, things like that. But it should be all down the board. I don't think he should just be singling out APAC. Let's get rid of all that. Um, Nonetheless, the GOP shows that we're just sick of weak Republican candidates. It has nothing to do with Israel's influence with when it comes to Thomas Massie, when it comes to these rhinos. We just want our representatives to have a spine. We don't need flip-flop libertarians or rhinos that vote 1 out of every 4 votes. It goes along with the Democrats. It just doesn't belong with our party anymore. Trump backed 39 winning GOP candidates. That shows that the Republican Party isn't dead. It's not slowing down. We just keep growing stronger. I feel the band-aids being put on, like I was talking about last week. Um, you hear about how every election is important, and they are to a point, but I think this one really is different. Um, we're off to a good start so far. It's significant because we're uniting again, and that's all that matters, in my opinion. We're staying strong with solid red candidates. We're getting rid of these flip floppers. We're staying consistent with what we want, with what our party's been since the beginning, and we're finally starting to get some reps in there that support us. Dems are all over the place with their primaries. Are trying to win over the middle class again, after failed attempts for pushing ridiculous agendas like women and men's sports. It just doesn't work. 10,000 genders. It's just wild. I think the voters are showing that they're starting to get sick of everything that's going on, all these crazy policies being pushed around. Um, you look at even really far left leaning places like the Southern Poverty Law Center, the SPLC. We found out they were secretly funding the KKK, the American Nazi Party, the Aryan Nation, amongst several other organizations just like that. It's just crazy, dude. They're staging conflicts, sending plants into these events, rallies, protests, trying to stir up trouble. It's like they're just throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks. It's wild to me. It seems like everything they do is just the exact opposite of what the Republican Party stands for, and they stick to that no matter what it looks like, no matter what it makes them look like, no matter what they have to do to get there. It's just crazy. So s- so far these primaries have shown the Republican Party is strong despite the propaganda being pushed out. Uh, Democrat voters are showing that they're getting sick of the extremism too. Maybe it's time for the Democratic Party to listen, but I don't know if they will, but seeing people like Jasmine Crockett and Al Green being taken out of their seats shows that, the lies are getting old, from the Democrats, at least the Democrat voters. And seeing people like Massey and Dan Crenshaw lose their seats shows that, we're sick of these rhinos holding us back. We need people that speak for us, and we haven't been getting that. Uh, it's pretty crazy when you talk to people on the streets. You do meet extreme Democrats, but most of the people, they keep voting for these people because they're blue, but they don't necessarily agree with all the extremist shit that's going on. Uh, to a point, it's getting further and further away. I don't know how much longer before we're just two completely different people. Uh, but it's crazy. We always fall back on the same foundation, in my opinion, with the Republican Party. We want constitutional rights, we want small government, we want lower taxes, morals, uh, alongside Christianity. You don't have to be a Christian, you can be an atheist and still have morals, but some type of foundation, some type of rock that you can fall back on that keeps you normal, that keeps you based. We like family values. Uh, the Republican Party just isn't for losers, in my opinion. It's for the individual to take what they have to offer and make something of themselves. I think only in America can you be born in poverty and grow up to be anything you aspire to be. It's crazy. The sky's the limit. I really think this deserves to be preserved. Uh, the left pushes complete opposite. They push selfishness and abortion and depravity. They believe in collectivism rather than individual rights. It's wild to me. There's never a real leader. They always seem to be in shambles. Uh, they just need the extremism to push the lies and fear to get the votes, in my opinion. They need victim mentality. They need you to believe that you need big government to protect you. It's insane. The policies don't work on their own, and when you add in all the contradictions and all the BS, it makes it impossible for the Democratic Party to be on one page. You can talk to one Dem and they feel one way and another one feels another. There's two types of Republicans. There's Republicans and there's rhinos, in my opinion. But when you look at the Dems, it's all over the place. It's pretty wild. Um, it's just it doesn't work. The contradictions. I mean, how can you be a feminist and support men and women's sports? You take a guy that you'd never even hear of in men's divisions, and all of a sudden they're dominating in women's sports, and you have all these Dems and feminists supporting it, acting like it's some sort of strength that this weak man is just dominating over women. I just don't get it. I don't get how you can call yourself a feminist and support it. They claim tolerance, but they support violence to anyone who opposes them. Uh, all the attempts on Trump and Trump's family. Republicans being harassed and hurt all over the place. But this is coming from the party of love, the party of tolerance. It doesn't work. It's crazy, and the contradictions just keep going. They claim that the right is Nazis and bigots, but then they turn around and they're the party that hates Jews, and they assume anyone with light complexion is somehow a descendant of like Confederate slave owners. It's insane. It's just all insane to me. I don't get how it works. I don't get how everyone can look at their policies and then look at their actions, and it just doesn't even seem like the same party. Um, they claim the right is protecting the Epstein class and they're all a bunch of pedophiles while ignoring the fact that Epstein was a Democrat who hung out with other Democrats and Democratic politicians like Bill Clinton and Bill Gates. And it's just crazy, they keep pushing that Trump is somehow involved in blocking this. I mean, I did a whole episode. We talked about how Virginia Gumphrey herself cleared Trump. Other victims have cleared Trump. Uh, victim's lawyer cleared Trump. The Florida chief of police cleared Trump. There's just a paper trail going against it, but yet they keep pushing the same narrative with no evidence. It would be different if there was some evidence. I'll side with you if there's some evidence, but there's just no evidence there. It's just baseless claims. It's what we hear a lot from the left, from these rhinos, these libertarians. It, you need facts. You need facts to push narratives to get people to get behind you. I don't understand how people just blindly follow this stuff. It's just insane. On top of that, like I said, they claim the right protects pedophiles and all this, but they have no problem protecting these Islamic regimes where girls are married off at 9 years old in Iraq. We talked about that last week. Underage all over the place in these Islamic regions. If I'm wrong, let me know, but I'm pretty sure age doesn't matter in any of them. And it's not like these little girls are falling in love with these old perverts. They're being traded off. They're being sold off into marriage. It's not by choice. How can you support this and also support the baseless lies being pushed here? Like it should be all down the board. If you don't like one thing, it doesn't matter the party sides. If I don't support these perverts with these underage girls, whether it's Epstein or Islam or anyone. If it was Trump, like I said, show me the proof, and I'll switch up. uh, but we might see, Thomas Massie. There's been rumors of him a little presidential run. I think it's not going to matter. I feel it'll just be a waste. If you couldn't win Kentucky, you're not going to win the presidency. Uh, it's not Israel, it's us. We don't want you representing the Republican Party. But nonetheless, he claims he's going to drop these names now. He has 7 months to do it. I'd love to hear him. As I said last time he did this, I sound like a broken record, but he dropped 6 names. Three of the names, there was absolutely nothing. It was like ghosts. I couldn't find anything on him. I still can't. And the other three we already knew of. So he's not dropping anything new. It's all talk. Um, what's stopping you from dropping it? Drop it. You have 7 months. Do it right now. You could have done it before. If you have these names, you want the accountability, you have all this information, just drop it. Uh, I just don't think it's going to happen. It's just more baseless crap from Thomas Massie. Um, I think what all this has taught us, though, is extremism only appeals to morons and psychos and politicians that want you to give up your freedom for a sense of security. I think that's what this whole episode's about. That's what all these policies are about, in my opinion. Uh, and now that it's not working, they have to get rid of it. It's getting out of control. Uh, people aren't falling for it. Even the Dems aren't falling for it. They want what looks like normal candidates now. We've seen from their their primary elections right now. They're staying away from the Jasmine Crockett's and all that, and they're trying to get people that are I don't want to say they're not extreme, but people like Tallarico, where he's pretty good at hiding it. He comes off like a normal person. He looks like a Leave It to Beaver character, and he claims to be a Christian. It's all trying to make you feel like we can find some middle ground. Like, we're all the same. It's a both sides issue, and I don't see it. Uh, People like Tallarico are still extreme, even though they don't try and come off that way. They're not screaming and hollering like Crockett and Al Green, but nonetheless, this man claims to be a Christian, but he claims Jesus is non-binary, and he loves seeing trans kids, and I just I don't think there's a middle ground anymore between the right and the left. It used to be a difference of policies, and now it just seems like we're two completely different people trying to coexist. You know, we're watching the band-aid be put on the Republican Party and the healing process starting there. But when it comes to the division between the left and the right, as of right now, I don't see a way to have a middle ground. I don't see anywhere where we overlap in our morals or our policies or anything. It's pretty crazy. I'd love to see America heal again one day, but as of right now, it's just crazy to think that we'll ever be on the same page with the Democratic Party ever again with the way things are going, no matter how they try to hide the extremism, in my opinion. But that's all I got for you today. If you like things I talk about on here, America, give my channel a like, share, and subscribe. Follow me on Rumble. It's where I like to be. And I'll see you later, America.